Hi, I'm Dorothy Hinshaw Patent, coming to you from beautiful western Montana to thank you for this wonderful award. I am so thrilled that the New York State Reading Association and the children of New York love my book as much as I enjoyed working on it. You might be interested in knowing how the book came about. Way back when the Osama bin Laden raid happened, the internet just exploded with articles about military working dogs, slideshows showing them in action, and my next door neighbor, Kathy Cross, just sent me links every single day, it seemed, to different things about military working dogs. And finally she said, "Dorothy, why don't you write a book about this for kids?" And I thought, wow, that's a great idea. So I contacted my editor, Emily Easton, about it, and we chatted. She thought it was a wonderful idea, and I said, well, you know, war is kind of a tough topic for kids, so I'd like to do it for ages 10 and up. Emily said, well, if you want to do it for 10 and up, you'll have to do it for someone else because we want books for a younger age level. So then I thought, oh boy, how am I going to do this? And then I realized that if I made the book for ages 8 to 12, and I focused on what is actually the most important thing about these dogs, and that is that they save lives, I would be okay. Okay, so the next step was getting myself in touch with the military. It turns out that you can't write about the military or talk to people, interview them, go visit bases or anything unless you get what's called book support. The military working dog program is centered at Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas. And so I went to the Air Force first. I had to fill out forms to get book support from them, and then I had to fill them out for the Army and the Marines and the Navy. And everything went smoothly except for one thing, and that was that the Navy said, we're giving you limited book support. Don't even ask about the Navy SEALs. So I thought, okay, that's one thing I don't need to talk about in this book. So Lackland Air Force Base has a puppy raising program. They train most of the handlers and the dogs, especially the specialized search dog teams, which are the kind of the elite members of the military working dog group, and they also handle the adoption program. So my trip to Lackland, I was able to see all of these different aspects of the military working dog program. Before I went, I was concerned, however, because there's nobody in the military in my family. My dad was raised as a Quaker, and the Quakers don't feel very positive about military things. So I was concerned about that. But once I got there and I started talking to the people that were involved in the dog program, I realized I knew the magic word, and the magic word was dog. All they had to know was that I was as crazy about dogs as they were, and they opened up and they told all kinds of stories, and they even told a couple of stories that they said, oh, I shouldn't have told you that. Don't mention that in your book, please. An important part of this book, of course, is the photos. So how did I acquire photos for the book? A few of them are photos I took myself when I was visiting Lackland, but most of them are actually from the U.S. government, and they have been posted online. And since they're from the U.S. government, they actually belong to all of us, U.S. citizens. So I spent many, many hours online looking for photos. I also found Canine Storm, the company in Canada that makes the vests for the dogs, and they were very cooperative. They gave me 3 photos to use in the book, and they refused to let me pay them anything for the photos. I especially love the picture of the vest with all the labels on it. I'm sure the boys especially love that one. And the one thing I had a problem with was finding appropriate dog from the Navy, because the Navy needs really, really small dogs to search submarines. They can't carry a lab or a German Shepherd down through the narrow quarters in the Navy, in the submarine. And so I said, what am I going to do here? And the Navy contact said, don't worry, we'll get you a photo. And he did. He got a nice photo of Lars, which is this little Navy dog that's in the book. So I was very lucky to have all these wonderful people help me out with the photos for the book. People always want to know where ideas for books come from. And as you've seen from what I've been telling you here, this particular book came from the news and my neighbors realizing that this would make a wonderful book for kids. But a lot of times the idea for a book comes out of a book you're working on at that exact time. My next book that just came out, called Super Sniffers, Dog Detectives on the Job, actually came out of Dogs on Duty. I just became fascinated by the amazing sense of smell that dogs have and how they can smell just about anything and be taught to recognize some individual odor and let people know that they found it. This ability is being exploited more and more by people, and dogs are now working in conservation work, they're working in medical work, like as medical alert dogs, they do avalanche search and rescue, and so forth. So dogs, super sniffers is about that kind of work that dogs do. And working on super sniffers has given me the idea for yet another book that won't be out until 2016. And that book is going to be about the amazing partnership, relationship between dogs and humans, and how we are just so together in the world, and how dogs are very special to people and people are very special to dogs. I don't just write about dogs, however. I have books coming out in 2015 on different topics. The first one is called Decorated Horses, and that's about how people have decorated horses over time for different kinds of purposes. The second book is called The Call of the Osprey. That book is about research being done in Montana on ospreys and how they can be used as indicators of heavy metals from mining operations in the river. And the third book is about a young bison growing up on the Montana prairie. So I'm always very busy with my writing, and I love doing it, and I love sharing it with teachers and librarians and with kids. I wish I could be there with you today to talk to you in person, but I hope you're enjoying your conference, and thanks again for this wonderful award.